disaster, and despair. Another humiliating defeat for Manchester United under Amorim marks the end of 2024 in tragedy. 4 consecutive losses for the Red Devils leave the 39-year-old manager grappling for answers. What can he possibly do when United is a comedy of errors at the back and utterly toothless in attack? Amorim once said that United might even face relegation from the Premier League this season, and their 0-2 loss to Newcastle, resembling the struggles of a relegation battling side, only adds weight to that unimaginable claim. The cracks are not just on the pitch but within the dressing room. Cameras captured a dejected Marcus Rashford sitting on the bench while Joshua Zirkzee stormed off to the dressing room after being subbed out, visibly frustrated. Stay the course or resign early to salvage some dignity amid this wreckage. These must be the tormenting thoughts running through Amorim's mind. What we are witnessing is a tragic reflection of a sinking ship Manchester United. Ten Hag left. Amorim arrived with great expectations, but the sad truth is, no manager seems capable of saving the Red Devils from their demise. In the clash against Newcastle, Marcus Rashford made his return to the matchday squad after missing the previous 4 games. However, the 27-year-old forward was left on the bench, much to the dismay of the fans. Meanwhile, Lisandro Martinez wore the captain's armband in place of the suspended Bruno Fernandes. On the other side, Newcastle's starman Alexander Isak stood out as the player to watch. A hot commodity in the transfer market, the Swedish striker knew the importance of making a statement with the winter window fast approaching, and it didn't take him long. Just 4 minutes into the game, Isak delivered with a clinical header to open the scoring. The play began on the left, where Anthony Gordon exploited Nusser Mazraoui's hesitant defending to whip in a menacing cross. In the box, Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez might as well have been statues as Isak rose unchallenged to score his 8th goal in 6 Premier League games. For Newcastle, it was a celebration. For United, it was yet another chapter in their defensive nightmare. Isak's brilliance aside, the ease with which Newcastle carved through the Red Devils only highlighted the alarming form of Andre Onana and his backline. The sense of hopelessness deepened for the Old Trafford faithful as United's midfield and forwards failed to muster any meaningful response. In the 15 minutes following the first goal, Amorim's side couldn't string together a single threatening attack on Newcastle's goal. As if that wasn't enough, Newcastle doubled their lead in the 19th minute with another devastating attack down the left flank. Anthony Gordon continued to torment Mazraoui and floated an inch-perfect cross from the right. This time it was Joe Linton who outmuscled Martinez to head the ball into the net, making it 2-0 for the visitors. For Lisandro Martinez, wearing the captain's armband on this dark day will be a memory he'd rather forget. In less than half an hour, he turned into a figure of ridicule for many fans. Of course, the blame for Manchester United's defensive collapse cannot be laid squarely on Lisandro Martinez. Conceding 11 goals in the last 4 games reflects a much deeper problem: Ruben Amorim's inability to build a solid defensive system. The cracks in United's formation were obvious as Newcastle repeatedly exposed them. The misery deepened in the 27th minute when the home side almost conceded a 3rd goal from a corner. One can only wonder what United have been doing in training sessions, as the same defensive lapses keep resurfacing whenever they face set-piece situations. By this point, the writing was already on the wall. This was destined to be another humbling defeat for the Red Devils. Alexander Isak thought he had made it 4-0 in the 30th minute, netting once again past Andre Onana, but the assistant referees spared United further embarrassment by flagging the Swedish striker offside. Despite the reprieve, what United fans desperately wanted was a spark, something to signal that the team would fight back. Yet, the response was painfully inadequate. Rasmus Højlund and his teammates managed just 3 shots in the entire first half, a measly figure that was 1/4 of Newcastle's total attempts. The frustration boiled over as early as the 30th minute, when Joshua Zirkzee was hauled off after touching the ball only 14 times, registering 0 shots, and failing to create any chances for his teammates. Visibly upset, the Dutch forward stormed straight down the tunnel with a sullen expression. However, after cooling off, the 23-year-old returned to the bench to watch the rest of the match, though his early substitution underscored the lack of cohesion in United's attack. On the pitch, the introduction of Kobbie Mainoo failed to inject the urgency United needed, and the first half ended without the hosts managing to pull a goal back. Further changes followed in the second half, with Alejandro Garnacho replacing Casemiro and Lenny Yoro coming on for Lisandro Martinez. Martinez, meanwhile, capped off his forgettable day with a yellow card just before halftime, leaving fans questioning his leadership on a night when he wore the captain's armband. As for Casemiro, his most notable contribution came in added time of the first half, a scuffed shot that went wide from an excellent position. Newcastle understandably slowed the tempo in the second half, aiming to protect their comfortable lead. This shift allowed Manchester United a bit more freedom on the ball, but even with the extra breathing room, a goal remained elusive for the Red Devils. The closest they came was in the 59th minute when Harry Maguire's header rattled the post, sending a brief ripple of hope through the Old Trafford crowd. Moments later, Lenny Yoro had fans prematurely celebrating as his shot narrowly missed the target. But despite some flashes of effort, United's offensive woes were glaringly obvious. Even with defenders pushing forward to join the attack, the team lacked the cohesion and creativity needed to break down Newcastle's organised defence. Over the course of 90 minutes, United managed just one shot on target, a damning statistic that encapsulated their toothless display. The introduction of Antony late in the second half offered little more than a symbolic gesture. The Brazilian winger failed to provide any significant threat, his performance epitomising United's lack of urgency and imagination. Meanwhile, Rasmus Højlund endured a night to forget. Practically invisible in the second half, the Danish striker managed only one shot all game and was unsurprisingly rated as the worst player on the pitch. A sobering 0-2 defeat to Newcastle ensures that Manchester United closes out 2024 with an unwanted piece of history. For the first time in 45 years, the Premier League giant has lost 3 consecutive home games at Old Trafford. When counting all competitions, the Red Devils' dismal run of 4 consecutive defeats has left their fanbase visibly disheartened, and confidence in manager Ruben Amorim is rapidly waning. His grand promises have gone unfulfilled, and many are beginning to see him as a Ten Hag 2.0-, another bold experiment that seems destined to fail. Adding to the tension, Amorim lost his composure when addressing the substitution of Joshua Zirkzee, stating, "I felt the team needed a midfielder, which is why I brought on Kobbie Mainoo." But Zirkzee needs to start thinking about the team as much as a coach thinks about his players. While few blamed Amorim for benching a player displaying poor form and attitude, fans were quick to seize on the moment, with many openly wishing for United to offload Zirkzee and even Marcus Rashford during the January transfer window. What the fans crave is a fresh and rejuvenated Manchester United after weeks of despair. A 14th place standing in the Premier League is miles below the lofty expectations of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, whose heavy involvement in the club's restructuring has yet to bear fruit. Tragically, United's issues span across the entire squad. The numbers speak volumes. Defensively, the Red Devils have conceded 20 goals in just 11 league games under Amorim, a shocking statistic that underscores their fragility. Meanwhile, the attack continues to misfire, with no striker even remotely matching the consistency and reliability of Newcastle's Alexander Isak. The Swedish forward has become a symbol of what United desperately lacks: a player who can deliver when it matters most. The January transfer window looms large for Manchester United, with names like Victor Gyökeres, Dani Olmo, and other rumoured targets swirling around Old Trafford. For the club's board, inaction is no longer an option if they hope to salvage the trust of a rapidly disillusioned fanbase. However, it would be naive to believe that a quick fix is possible, even with blockbuster signings. The Red Devils' current run of catastrophic performances could well extend into 2025, especially with a daunting trip to Anfield on the horizon. Liverpool, fueled by their red-hot form, look poised to pile on United's misery. Mohamed Salah, a relentless force this season, will undoubtedly have his sights set on Andre Onana's net as the Reds aim to solidify their position at the top of the Premier League table. A predictable outcome looms for Sunday night's showdown, a scenario that could push United further down the table, possibly even closer to the dreaded relegation zone. While the notion of Manchester United dropping to the Championship remains unthinkable, the reality of their precarious situation cannot be ignored. Manager Ruben Amorim, despite his optimism, is quickly running out of time to turn the tide. The Portuguese tactician recently declared, "I've seen enough in recent weeks to know that Manchester United has everything it needs to succeed. I am just as confident as I was on my first day that this team will return to its former glory." But words alone won't stop the bleeding. Amorim's future at the club hinges on his ability to end this torrid losing streak and inject life into a squad bereft of confidence and direction. Failure to do so will likely see him join the list of managers whose careers were derailed at the so-called theatre of dreams. The uncertainty surrounding Manchester United's future stretches far beyond the ongoing season. If 2024 has been defined by failure and frustration, the question becomes whether 2025 will bring redemption or deeper despair. With the team languishing in the bottom half of the Premier League table and the squad seemingly in disarray, major structural changes are inevitable, whether that means clearing out underperforming players, bringing in fresh talent, or replacing the manager himself. Ruben Amorim's position is undoubtedly precarious. While he has publicly exuded confidence in his vision, the harsh realities of football may force United's board to act before the season concludes. If results don't improve drastically, it's hard to imagine Amorim surviving past the summer of 2025. A loss against Liverpool this weekend could even accelerate calls for his departure. However, United's situation isn't entirely hopeless. A few astute signings in January, particularly a commanding midfielder and a reliable striker, could stabilize the team enough to secure a mid-table finish and prevent further embarrassment. But the key question remains, can Amorim rally his troops and show the tactical acumen needed to inspire a turnaround? Or will he become yet another casualty in the long line of managers who have struggled under the immense weight of expectation at Old Trafford?